Hello and welcome to episode 159 on the Everyday Joy podcast. I'm your host, Joy Ravella. Now, if you are listening to this podcast for the very first time, I want to say a great big welcome to you. This podcast is just filled with everyday individuals sharing their everyday stories around connecting with an extraordinary God. And we do this by using one Bible verse and we unpack it with 3 questions. So these 3 questions are repeated in every single podcast episode. I ask my guest what their first impression of the verse is. I ask them what this tells them about God's character or what He values. And lastly, how this verse has shown up in their life. And so that's what we're going to get into today with this week's guest, Riley Clemens. Riley Clemens is a singer-songwriter from Nashville. She's released 2 studio albums, including songs that we play here on 89.9 The Light. She is talented, down to earth, and as you'll soon hear, a fierce follower of Jesus. Now, you'll hear audio all throughout this podcast, obviously. But if you want to catch up on the images, on video footage, there's 2 places you can head to. The Everyday Joy Facebook community, or you can head to the Light website, thelight.com.au. I'm so looking forward to all the episodes this week. Real and raw with Riley. Before we dive into today's episode, a massive shout out to Christian Jobs Australia. They have supported all the episodes during the month of September and we are so grateful. They love this podcast and they wanted you to know about Australia's most popular Christian job board with thousands of site visitors each day. Go ahead, see what's there for you. You can find the website in the description, christianjobs.com.au. Time now to get into today's Bible verse.
Don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example in speech, in life, in love, in faith, and in purity. 1 Timothy 4:12 NIV.
I've got the amazing, the spectacular, the star-studded leather chick sitting in the seat in front of me. Yay! Riley Clemens.
Hi.
So good to actually see you face to face.
It's really good to be here. I'm so happy to get to be experiencing Australia.
Yeah, and you are so loved. So I sort of teased to our community that you would be on the podcast and I posted a picture of you and I was like, hey, Riley Clemens is jumping on board, and every single comment is, we love Riley. Oh my goodness, so excited. And so big love from the podcast community to you.
Well, I myself love a good podcast. So I've heard great things too, just about the amazing growth that you guys have experienced through this podcast and just such a beautiful way to reach people where they're at. So I'm honored to join.
Yeah, there's like a lot of busy mums listening in. There's a lot of people in their high school years. There's a lot of like grandparents tuning in. And I think there's just a wealth of experience and a wealth of knowledge when we just look at a verse and we say, okay, what's your thought on this? What's your thought on this? And we just can find so much richness. So I want to ask you, Riley.
So good.
What is your first impression of this verse?
Oh, you know what? Immediately, I think back to starting to come into the music industry at a younger age, starting to release music and do it professionally. This was a verse I leaned on a lot.
Wow.
You know, being a kid, which I was under 18 when I first started releasing music. I think sometimes it's really easy, and this is something I've struggled with, to look down on your own self or not trust your instinct because of youth. It's really easy to do. And I think per my experience, I'm 23 now, I still feel like youth. I hope I am.
This verse still applies, don't worry.
Thank God. But it's not one of those things of finding the balance between leaning into the wisdom around you and being a sponge and being willing to learn, and yet also having the courage to not let anybody look down on you because of your youth, and also not look down on yourself.
Yeah.
It's a fine balance. I'm still very much figuring it out.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking about it the other day. I'm like, do I still apply? So I'm turning 30 at the end of the year. I'm like, at what point?
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm low-key excited, but I'm also like, wow, I had this whole 10-year plan. And my life's turned out a little differently. And for those of you listening, you'll know all about that. But the incredible thing is, I think my first impression of this verse, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, is I just love the fact that you can set an example despite your age or despite your inexperience, and that we can say, okay, right, I can step up, and I can step up in these 5 areas: in speech, in life, in love, in faith, and in purity. I mean, just out of interest, Riley, where did you get this verse? Did someone like show it to you? Did you discover it yourself as you were reading through the Bible, or how did it come into your life?
You know, I think that when we're reading or consuming anything, including the Bible, I, especially at a young age, was looking for things that I could connect to and that applied to me. And growing up, I went to a Christian school, which was a huge blessing. So with that said, our teachers were able to talk about the Bible. They were able to read scripture aloud. And this is a verse that I remember being read aloud often, especially for a group of high school students. It feels really timely and applicable. And I think, like you said, setting an example in speech, life, love, faith, and purity, they're all aspirational things, right? And I think that as people who love Jesus and as people who are trying to follow him and trying to live more like him, we're all young Christians, so to speak.
Yeah,
right? You know, we're all very much Christians in progress. And I think that it's a special thing to be able to attempt to set an example every single day.
Yeah.
Yet imperfectly. That's what I've done. But yeah, I connect to this verse a lot. I really do.
I love
First impression is, thank God a verse like this exists. And thank God that that the Lord had the kind and caringness in his heart to write this and have a verse that could so connect with, especially the youth of the world.
Yeah, I agree 100%. What has this verse told you about who God is or what matters to him?
You know, in this season of life, I feel like I'm in a period of time where I'm learning a lot about God very rapidly as I continue to step into my early 20s and what that looks like. And in this season, one of the things that sticks out, including a verse like this, is the compassion of the Lord. The compassion enough to, to preconceive that humans, us people down here on earth, are going to have these questions, are going to have these insecurities, like people looking down on us because we're young and not feeling smart enough or pretty enough or productive enough or all of these things. So I think that when I read a verse like this, not only do I relate to it, and that's kind of the first impression of it, but also it does reveal a lot of the heart of God in the sense that he is encouraging us from the minute that we're able to process a verse like this in our young ages and all the way through.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think in the context of this verse as well, this was written to Timothy, a really young guy who had a pretty big task ahead of him.
Yeah, I'd say.
And just to know, hey, don't let people look down on you because you are young. I think what it tells me, it kind of gives me a little bit of a sass stick, I like to call it. It's just a little bit of like a, don't let people look down. Like, there's so many ways you could read this verse. If I was to read it, I'd say, don't look at anyone. Don't let anyone look down on you because you are young. Like, there's a little bit of sass to it. And I think, for me, I think I'm someone who, part of possibly my Indian background, there's definitely this whole idea of, observe your elders, respect your elders, and all those sorts of things, which are really great values to have. But I also think this comes alongside that. There comes a time when you have to own your youth in the same way you have to own all sorts of parts of your story.
Wow, that's well said.
And I love this. Don't let anyone look down on you because you are young. And so maybe for you listening, you've got to read that verse out to yourself with a bit of a sass stick and just gotta be a bit sassy and say it. Like, don't let anyone look down on you because you're young, because God doesn't.
I'm taking the sass stick. I'm taking that home. Yes, you do. I mean, I believe that, obviously, if you read the Bible, God is confident.
Yeah.
That's his nature. I think that he would want us to live in that too, and handing over that sass stick and being like, you know what? Don't let, I think it's like that too. Don't let anybody look down on you because you're young.
Yes.
Yeah. Come on.
Changes the whole game, really. I think when you read it like that.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
You can be a leader at a young age. You can be a good example at a young age. You can be confident in your speech and all of these things. I love that. Okay, this is firing me up today.
Awesome.
Love it.
Well, hey, Riley's going to be with us all of this week, so don't go anywhere. We usually wrap up the episode with a story from your life.
Okay.
But we've just had such a great chat in the initial 2 questions. I'm looking forward to diving deeper. Hey, tomorrow, a bit of a teaser, we are going to the book of Psalms. And tomorrow's verse is for anyone who feels a bit battered, who needs some hope. We're going to unpack that tomorrow on the Everyday Joy podcast. Riley, look forward to tomorrow.
I'll see you then.
As we head to the end of today's episode, there's 2 things I want to mention to you. The first thing is the sass factor. When you read out this verse, inject some life, some passion into it, because this is a letter written to a young man who's got a pretty tough task ahead of him, and his mentor is boosting him up with these words. These words aren't limp, insipid words on a page. They are this fiery fuel to help this young man live out what God has for him. So get a bit sassy with it. Maybe sassy isn't the right word. Maybe it's forceful. Maybe it's passionate, enthusiastic, determined, whatever it is. Read this verse out loud and use creativity and use passion to connect with the heart of it. 1 Timothy 4:12. Do not let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example in speech, in life, in love, in faith, and in purity. So that's my first piece of application. The second one today is to encourage you to not discount yourself from this verse because you're not young. Riley said a little bit earlier, we're all young Christians. We're all young in the faith. I mean, compared to how much more there is left to learn, compared to all the wonderful things that we don't know and that God has yet to reveal to us, we're pretty young. I don't even think eternity would be long enough to unpack and uncover all that God is and all that He has for us. So we're all baby Christians in some way. And so therefore, this verse applies to all of us. If you want to watch the recording of Riley and I having this conversation, if you're a visual person, you want to see our expressions, all those sorts of things, head on over to the Light website, thelight.com.au. I'll pop that link in the description below as well. Hey, I look forward to catching up again tomorrow right here on the Everyday Joy podcast.